Okay, let's redo some Jovians. I think I got a lot of changes here. So I'm doing only Jovians today. I'm not gonna do two lists. And I want to go over a lot of the cards because colonies introduces a lot of them, and even if they don't change, I want to talk about them. So let's go. So game breaking, I still think Terraforming Ganymede and Io has the point potential and the insane production potential, even if it signals how hard you're going for the Jovians from the beginning of the game. But it's 8 production, it's great for your economy, and it gives you 11 points. It is a savage card when you use it. And Terraforming Ganymede is the best scoring card in the game. There's no other card that can do 12, 13 points in one go. So yeah, those two stay at the top. But I am adding another one, and that will be Jovian Lanterns, because there is another card that can do 13 points in the game, just not in one go. It's gonna take a few generations. But yeah, I've had some insane Jovian Lantern games with 3, 4 gens, and you get to 20 points, which is totally worth it. And yeah, so there's two key things here. One, it's a Jovian tag, which means it interacts with all the cards in colonies that put floaters and Jovians. So Hydrogen from Titan Shuttles, which does 2 a turn, is the best one. Titan Floating Launchpad, which does 3 the first turn, 2 directly and then 1 per turn. Jupiter Floating Station. So it just interacts with more cards. The only floater card that it really misses is Stratopolis and a few of the direct ones, like Earth Scrapping Expedition and stuff like that. But most of the Venus ones are either in another card, and Stratopolis is the only one that's in a Venus card. So it just gets more floaters and floating haps. But also, it just comes with points, because, it comes with at least 2. You got 2 floaters, that's 1 point, and you got a terraforming rating. And then really, if you have 1 titanium, it's 3 points. So you have a 26 for the cost of the card, and the cost of that titanium, a 3-point card. It's basically Phobos Space Haven at worst, right? But then just 1 more generation and 3 another titanium, that you get to 4 points, which makes it sort of like interplanetary colony ship. A little worse because it's like 29. But at the same time, and that one's a space event, to be fair, it's discountable. But this is a Jovian tag, and that Jovian tag could be 1 or 2 more points. And then you get the fact that, like I said, all of these cards dump floaters on it, and Titan the colony. This is your target for the last ends of the game. I have just had some insane games with it. I no longer want to play Terraforming Mars when this card isn't in my hand, if Titan is in play, because it just doesn't feel right to not get points for Titan. So yeah, an insane card. It is like you have to build around it. It's not. You have to build around all the Jovians in the Jovian strategy, right? Like Terraforming Ganymede requires you to play a bunch of Jovians for it to be good. This one also requires you to do other, obviously Jovians make it good, because at 20 for 2 points, so 3 points, it's already a pretty good point ratio. But if you can get floaters on it at the end of the game, then it's even better. So yeah, I think it's game breaking, and it's a card that I want to see. I want to play around it if it's in my hand, and especially if the colony Titan is in play. Ganymede colony and water import from Europa stay there. They're very good. They just require more Jovian tags to work than the other ones. And then I will keep on this very solid category the Asteroid Mining Consortium. It's one of the cheapest, and it can just be backbreaking early. It's a bit situational. But the fact that it's like if you go Jovian, you have two multipliers, you can play it at the end of the game for nothing, and it's probably worth it. So I will keep it here. Same with Atmoscope, one of the best point cards in the Jovians. It has 3 points on itself, and probably another with those two floaters, and then probably more with a Jovian tag, right? But at 3 points for itself for 22, and a science requirement that you probably have met because this is an endgame card, it's just really good. And I really like that the control on the tracks, you can usually get the ocean on the temperature track, or the terraforming rating on the Venus track with it, or it can help you rush or delay the game. Usually you'd probably just delay it, but yeah, I really like Atmoscoop. Now, weirdly, Nitrogen for Titan is a card that it's very similar, right? It's 2 TR, except it's direct TR, not a parameter. The floaters are a real little worse. This one's on any card, this one's on a Jovian card. Which basically, because at this point you're playing points, it's Jovian Lanterns or Floating Habs where you want to go, those floaters to go. And Nitrogen from Titan just misses his. I mean, it could also be Celestic or Cloud Tourism, but Cloud Tourism has both tags actually. But you can't place on Celestic either or Stratopolis, which are 1, 2, 3. And it could also be a point that way. And it's also 3 more expensive. And I don't know, it just makes a huge difference to me. So I am dropping this far down 1 tier here. It's just I just find myself keeping this a lot less than I kept Atmoscoop. And yeah, it's just those few little differences just make it less viable. Moving on to the often usable tier. First up, we got a promotion, and that is a card that Titan Shuttles has to go here. This is the best early Jovian of the floater Jovians, right? It's almost 2 titanium production, and we can compare it to Asteroid Mining. It's 7 cheaper. The caveat being you can't use the titanium right away, and you need a whole generation of non-production to get your titanium back. The bright side being that after a while you can just dump your Jovians on Jovian Lanterns, right? That's the upside. So you start paying basically 6 per point at that stage, which is an okay ratio. And so the fact that it combines production and then points, I think, just puts it above Asteroid Mining. You know, Asteroid Mining has an extra point, but it's 7 more expensive, although it's more efficient in the way it produces. But I am also moving Asteroid Mining up here, just right below it. I think this is one of the best production cards in the Jovians. You know, it pays back really quick, just 5 generations, and then you get a huge titanium income, and it's also like a bit easier to pay than other Jovians. I feel it's worth more in general, and it has 2 points, so I'm gonna keep it there. Miranda, I'm gonna move to the bottom of this tier. I mean, you usually get the Earth tags, but there are cases where it's not that useful. And then I'm keeping the rest. Red Spot is still a very good card. You know, it's a great card drawer. The 3 science tag can be a bit annoying to meet early, and you do want this card at least early mid game so you can draw cards, but it comes with 2 cards and 2 points. So 1 more Joy multiplier pretty much makes it worth it. And I'm actually going to compare it to Sulphur Research. So you see how much better this is. Okay, so you don't have the 3 science requirement, but you basically have a 3 Venus requirement, which is way harder to meet because you're not going to play Sulphur Research for a card, because no one plays it like that, right? You have a 3 Venus requirement on it. They both have the same price, the same tax, the same points. And this one, it gets you 2 cards at first. This one gets you 3, but this one will get you another card the next gen, and then after that it'll get you a few more. So it's an easier requirement, and it'll probably mean 2 or 3 more cards, I would say, with the only caveat that you get the 3rd card 1 generation later. So yeah, it's just too much upside when you compare it to IO Sulphur Research. So yeah, that's why red spot here, IO's here. IO's still very solid. If you get those 3 Venus attacks, IO's solid. After that, I am going with Titan Flowing Launchpad. It's really good if you can find energy. It's a way to trade that it's cheaper, and again, you can turn this into points at the end of the game. If you get it after you have energy, it's never worth playing, right? If you have your trade set up with energy, you don't play this card. It won't produce the points. It's more of a... It helped me stay, competitive. Like, it saved me a few bucks from trading with money when I didn't have energy, and at the end of the game, it has 1 point. It has a Jovian attack, which could be another point. If you get 1 point out of the floater ability, 3 points for 21 plus the little cash it saved you early, that's totally fine, right? So it's an okay card, it's usable, that's it. Same with Vesta, it's a production card that it's not as good as Asteroid Mining, but it's a good, fine production card that's gonna turn into points late. I don't have a lot else to say about it. Okay, moving to on a few scenarios, I'm actually gonna move Methane from Titan up, because I find myself playing this more and more, and it's just a very good plant producer and heat producer. And then Beam from a Thorium Asteroid, I'm gonna put down here. Colonizer Training Camp is gonna stay. It's just a card that if you have the steel, and the game is not rushed too fast, you can usually play it, and it's gonna be worth the points. Without the Jovian multiplier at 5.5 per point, it's already worth it. By late game standards, early you don't want to invest into points that much, but with 1 Jovian multiplier, it's worth it at any stage, right? So you don't want to kill your eco for it, but if you have a bit of extra steel and you're going Jovian, then sure, go for it. It has that very niche window where you have to play it, so that's why it's in a few scenarios. Same with Methane, it's a small window. If Oxygen doesn't move to 2 in the first 3 generations, sometimes it can be very hard to play, and that this production is really not worth it after that. And for the points, you're gonna need 2+ multipliers, because this one's expensive. Beam is even harder, right? Because Beam only has 1 point, and so you really need 3 multipliers to make this be worth the points, right? Because at 35 for 4 points, it barely even gets there. At 9, so it's really, you can't see this as a point card. You just can't. You actually probably need all 4 to play this at the end of the game. If it's 5 points for 35, then yeah, I'll play it, and it's still 7 per point. But if it's 4, I'm questioning it. But then the fact that it comes with 3 energy, and considering how tough that can be with colonies, that actually is what keeps it in this tier for me. So you still have to play it early, and that Jovian requirement is a bit easier with colonies. So because of colonies, I'm gonna leave it here. Otherwise, I don't like it as a heat producer, so I would put it down. Okay, and I'm actually moving this down, but I'll talk about it when I get to it. Now the next tier, 2+ multipliers. Callisto Penal Mines, yeah, it's a bad producer. You want to play it mid-game at best, because what are you getting? Like this space back in 9 generations, right? It's 27 cost, you get 3 back, so it's never play this early for production because you barely will see your cash at the end of the game. However, if you are going for multipliers, you are playing it for the points, and the earlier you play it, the more money you get back. So usually I aim for mid-game for that one. Like, I want to play my more efficient production first, but I don't want to leave it to the end of the game because then the point ratio gets really worse. So if you play it, let's say Gen 5, and you get 4 rounds of production, that's 12. You're paying 15 for it, and if you have 3 points, then that's kind of worth it. 4 points is definitely worth it. So with 2+ multipliers, I play Callisto Penal Mines. Same thing with Jovian Embassy. I can actually play this for 1. I'm going to move it up once because I feel it's a bit more playable for 1 at the end of the game, especially with leftover steel. It's a lot like Culinary Training Camp, but a lot more expensive, and you can play it at the end. 6 more expensive, and you can play it at the end of the game, where you might have this deal. So that's pretty much it, because TR at that point is probably the same as the point. And it's not gonna flip any manufacturer awards or anything. So it's just that it's a decent steel dump, and if you have, I could give this the grace of saying if you have one multiplier at 17, that's fine, right? So yeah, I'm gonna do Jovian Embassy here. Diaspora movement. Again, you don't want to play this with just one multiplier unless you have. But the thing is, you have to have a bunch of Jovians for it, and you have to put the reds in power sometimes, which means you're might be investing a delegate or even 5 cash into it. But if you have a bunch of multipliers, you probably have a bunch of Jovians. This could even be a cash positive point card, right? So I would say this is still like worth it. Often with 2 multipliers, maybe even 1. But I'm actually gonna put it behind Titan Air Scrapers. Now, I used to like this card a little more, but I have to move it down because I just never have the time to play it. I just find that I have more point cards. The fact that it doesn't have a space tag, like most late Jovians that give you points have a space tag. Like if you see Terraform Ganymede, IO Mining, Ganymede Colony, Water Import, Nitrogen from Titan, Atmos Scoop. Those are like the point Jovians that you play at the end of the game, right? This one just, the fact that it doesn't have a space tag and I can't use my titanium really bothers me. And I have to play it 1 gen before the end to get that 3rd point. And I'm usually, like, if you have titanium already committed to things like Jovian Lanterns, I just, like, it doesn't seem bad on paper. I just played a bunch of games in colonies and I've kept it in my hand too often. I don't have time to play it. And yeah, that's gonna be it for the 2+ multipliers tier. And to be honest, like, I could make this like the 1.5 multipliers, like depending on the situation. And the unusable is really the 2.5 multipliers. So if you're in that 2 or 3 range, you can play any Jovian card, right? Because they're just points. But I am gonna move these down. And let's talk about the new one. Cloud Tourism is on that list here too, and it's probably the better one. Cloud Tourism, it's a weird card, to say the least. It's the only Jovian that doesn't come with points on it automatically. Like every other Jovian has points on it directly. Even the multipliers obviously have at least 1, and Jovian Lanterns comes with a TR. So even if you don't want to place, it really comes with 2. But if you don't want to place the 2 floaters on it, it's still giving you a TR. So the only Jovian that doesn't come with points on it, and you need 3 gens before the end to get the first point. You also get a big discount because you're gonna get production of your, but it's 1 for every Earth plus Venus. So if you have 7 Earth and 3 Venus, you only get 3 production. And it has the Venus, which is the rarest of the 2 tags, so it's probably giving you at least 1 because it will be rare for you not to have an Earth tag at that point. But it's still, I feel like it's rarely gonna be worth playing early, because just having that many Earth and Venus tags is not that easy. There are some games, right? And if you play with only those 2 expansions, this isn't a colonies card, this is a promo card. So if you're only playing with Venus, you might get like 3 or 4 out of this. I've seen some crazy Gyropolis. You could even get 6 and that would be worth it, but again, it's really rare. So I think most of the time this is going to be a point card. And with 3 multipliers at 11, that's definitely worth it. With 2, you have to play 3 before the end, but it could also be somewhere where you dump floaters. So with Tiny Game, it could be done. So there's a few scenarios, but just not that many. Same thing with Saturn Surfing. It's another weird production card where, you know, if you have a bunch of Earth tags, you basically get a discount on it. But you never play this for the money because so the way it works is you have to pay a floater to activate the ability, and the ability is capped at 5. So you get a floater for each Earth tag. If you have 5 Earth tags, then you tap it for 5, then you tap it for 4, then you tap it for 3, 2, 1. which adds up to 15 if you did the math, and the card costs 16, right? So you need a 6 Earth tag, including itself, for it to pay you 4 money back. Which means, like, I mean, you can do the math with each number of floors, just add 5 per Earth tag, but it's rarely ever gonna be something that you play early and gets you money. So just play it for the points at the end. If you have the 5 Earth tags, then you get a 5 back as soon as you play it. If you do it 2 gens before the end, you could get 5 and 5 and 5 and 4. And it's a really cheap point card, basically. But it's nothing more than that. And you need the multipliers, probably, to make it worth it. And the Earth tags. And finally, Jupiter Flooring Station. This is, I officially like it less than Saturn Surfing. I hated on Saturn Surfing a lot, but Jupiter Flooring Station, you never have the time to put the floaters on. It's silly. So again, you play this card, and then you have to charge it for 4 generations so that you can get 4 cash out of it per generation. And it has a 3 science tag requirement. So you can play it early. And then you have to charge it. So like by the time it starts paying back, it's like Gen 8 if you just by itself. Unless you get really lucky with the science tax, and it's a big investment. It costs 12 and it does nothing for 4 generations. So the only way to really get this to 4 is with Titan or another floater card, but I find that rarely I want to put my floaters here, because the fact that they're also capped at 4, if they weren't capped and you can just dump floaters from Titan here, then okay, play this early, invest floaters into it, and then you get, 10 every generation. That would be awesome. And you can do it while you're not tapping the card to put floaters on it to charge it. But the fact, or if you could just trade floaters here as money, as the way dirigibles work or something, but the fact that you have to charge it and do nothing with it for 4 generations, only to then get 4 cash per generation back, it's never gonna pay. It's a bad economy card. And so again, you have the multipliers. It's cheap with 2 multipliers, 12 for 3 points. That's definitely worth it, right? But this is the one that pays back the least of these 3, because they're all a weird combination of like, okay, it's cheap enough that you can play it late for points. It's not that many points on itself, but with multipliers you can do it, but it also has ways to give you money back. But all the ways are pretty niche and terrible, and this one is the worst. So, yeah, that's the worst Jovian to me. But the good news is all the Jovians are pretty good. Jovian is probably one of my favorite strategies in the game. And yeah, I had a few changes. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you next time.